Impermanence, or Anicca, is the Buddhist reminder that stops you from wasting your life. Most people waste their lives not because they have too little time, but because they quietly believe there will always be more. That belief feels comforting. It also keeps you asleep. You postpone the conversation that matters. You delay the dream that keeps calling you. You assume your parents will always answer the phone. You think your health will recover later. You believe there will be another opportunity, another season, another chance. Buddhist philosophy asks a simple question. What if the greatest illusion is not that life is short, but that your mind keeps pretending it is guaranteed? The Buddha did not teach impermanence to make people afraid of death. He taught it to wake them up to life. In the Dhammapada, verse 277, we find one of the clearest statements in Buddhist philosophy. All conditioned things are impermanent. At first, those words sound obvious. Everyone knows things change. But knowing something with the intellect is very different from seeing it deeply. Because if you truly saw impermanence, you would speak differently. You would love differently. You would stop treating today like a rehearsal for tomorrow. Perhaps the life you are waiting to begin has already begun. And perhaps the only thing preventing you from seeing it is forgetting what has always been true. Everything changes, everything. Imagine someone handing you a flower. You admire it for a few seconds. Then you place it in a vase. The next morning, you barely notice it. A few days later, its petals begin to fall. Suddenly, you realize how beautiful it was. Nothing about the flower changed overnight. Only your attention did. This pattern appears everywhere in human life. A new job becomes routine. A loving relationship becomes expected. A healthy body becomes invisible. A peaceful home becomes ordinary. We stop seeing what is present because the mind quietly assumes it will remain. This assumption is rarely spoken aloud. It operates beneath awareness. According to Buddhist philosophy, this is one expression of ignorance. Not ignorance as a lack of intelligence, but ignorance as failing to perceive reality as it truly is. Reality is movement. Reality is change. Reality refuses to stand still. Yet the mind behaves as though stability is the natural state of existence. That is why we postpone gratitude. We postpone forgiveness. We postpone kindness. We postpone living. Not because we are cruel, not because we are lazy, because somewhere inside, we believe there will always be another opportunity. Anicca gently challenges that belief. Impermanence is not a dramatic event waiting at the end of life. It is the continuous nature of life itself. Your body is changing while you listen. Your thoughts are changing. The people you love are changing. The world outside your window is changing. Nothing is frozen. Nothing is waiting. Everything is already moving. This insight appears repeatedly throughout the early Buddhist teachings. Impermanence is not presented as a pessimistic observation. It is presented as reality itself. The problem begins when the mind insists that reality should behave differently. Consider how often people say, "I'll spend more time with my family later. I'll travel when life settles down. I'll start living after this project. I'll be happy when everything is finally under control." These sentences all share one hidden assumption, that life will patiently wait. But life never waits. It unfolds, moment after moment, breath after breath, whether we notice it or not. Years later, people often describe life as passing quickly. Yet the clock never accelerated. What disappeared was attention. Days blended into habits. Habits blended into years. Years blended into memories. Eventually, people wonder where their lives went. Buddhist philosophy offers a different answer. Your life did not disappear. Your awareness did. When awareness sleeps, life feels short. When awareness awakens, even an ordinary afternoon becomes extraordinary. This is why impermanence is not merely about endings. It is about seeing beginnings that are happening every moment. Every conversation appears only once. Every sunrise exists only once. Even if tomorrow looks identical, it is not the same day. Neither are you the same person. The illusion of repetition hides the miracle of change. Because the mind says, "I've seen this before." Reality quietly replies, "No, you haven't." Many people misunderstand impermanence. They imagine it means that one day everything will disappear. That understanding is incomplete. According to Buddhist philosophy, impermanence is not waiting in the future. It is unfolding now, right now. The person you were 5 minutes ago no longer exists exactly as before. New thoughts have appeared. Old emotions have faded. Cells inside your body have already changed. Experiences have reshaped your understanding. Without noticing, you have become someone slightly different. This is not poetry. It is direct observation. The Buddha invited people to investigate this reality for themselves, not through blind belief, but through careful attention. When we observe closely, permanence becomes surprisingly difficult to find. Look at your emotions. Joy comes, joy leaves. Fear comes, fear leaves. Anger appears. Eventually, even anger dissolves. No emotional state remains forever. Look at success. One achievement excites you. Weeks later, it feels ordinary. Then another goal replaces it. The cycle repeats. Look at disappointment. It feels unbearable. Then time changes its shape. One day, you remember the same event without the same pain. Even suffering changes. Nothing stays fixed. This observation leads naturally toward another Buddhist insight. If everything changes, why do we keep trying to hold everything still? Why do we demand permanence from an impermanent world? Perhaps this explains much of human frustration. We are not fighting reality itself. We are fighting the way reality behaves. Imagine trying to stop the ocean from producing waves. Every wave that appears feels like a problem. But the waves are not the problem. The expectation that the ocean should become perfectly still. That is the problem. Impermanence functions in the same way. Relationships evolve. Bodies age, children grow, dreams transform, societies change, cultures change, even identities shift across decades. Yet the mind whispers, "Please remain exactly as you are." Reality never agrees. This is why the Buddha described attachment as a source of suffering. Not because love is wrong, not because relationships are wrong, but because demanding permanence from changing conditions creates endless conflict inside the mind. This insight is closely connected with another famous passage from the Dhammapada. The teaching does not ask us to reject life. It asks us to stop arguing with its nature. The flower blooms, the flower fades. Neither moment is a mistake. Morning becomes afternoon, afternoon becomes evening. Neither moment has failed. Youth becomes age, age becomes memory. Nothing has gone wrong. Life has simply continued expressing its deepest characteristic: change. The more deeply this becomes understood, the more extraordinary ordinary moments begin to feel. Not because they last forever, but precisely because they do not. Every smile becomes more valuable. every shared meal becomes more meaningful. Every ordinary conversation becomes quietly sacred, not through religion, not through ritual, but through clear seeing. You no longer take life for granted because you finally understand. Life has never promised to stay exactly as it is. If impermanence is the nature of reality, why do we suffer so much because of it? Buddhist philosophy answers with a single word: attachment. Attachment is often misunderstood. Many people think it means caring too much or loving too deeply. That is not what the Buddha pointed toward. Attachment is not love. Attachment is the insistence that what changes should not change. It is the mind trying to freeze a flowing river. Imagine holding water in your hands. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips away. Life often works the same way. The more desperately we demand certainty, the more anxious we become, the more fiercely we cling to youth, the more frightening aging feels, the more tightly we cling to success, the more devastating failure becomes, the more we define ourselves by another person, the more unbearable separation appears. Notice something important. The suffering does not begin when life changes. Life has always been changing. The suffering begins when the mind declares, "This should not be happening." That single sentence creates resistance. Resistance becomes frustration. Frustration becomes sorrow. Sorrow becomes a story we repeat again and again. This is why the Buddha linked Anicca, impermanence, with dukkha, suffering. Not because change is cruel, but because the mind keeps demanding permanence from what has never been permanent. Think about your own life. How many years have been spent wishing reality were different? Perhaps wishing someone had never left. Perhaps wishing your younger body would return. Perhaps wishing one mistake had never happened. Perhaps wishing time would slow down. Every one of these wishes shares the same hidden belief. If reality would only stop changing, I could finally be at peace. Yet reality never accepts that bargain. The seasons continue. The body continues. The mind continues. History continues, whether we approve or not. There is another consequence of attachment that receives far less attention. Attachment does not only create pain when something ends, it also prevents us from fully experiencing what is here now. Imagine sitting beside someone you love. Instead of truly listening, part of your mind worries about losing them someday. Another part remembers an old argument. Another imagines a future that has not happened. Your body is present. Your attention is not. Attachment has quietly stolen the moment before the moment even ends. How often does this happen? A vacation is interrupted by worrying about work. Success is interrupted by fear of losing success. Love is interrupted by fear of rejection. Health is interrupted by fear of illness. Peace is interrupted by fear that peace cannot last. Ironically, the very attempt to protect happiness often prevents happiness from being experienced. This is one of the deepest paradoxes in Buddhist philosophy. The mind clings because it wants security. Yet clinging creates insecurity. The mind grasps because it wants peace. Yet grasping creates restlessness. The mind accumulates because it wants enough. Yet enough never arrives. Each achievement quickly becomes ordinary. Each possession soon loses its excitement. Each milestone creates another destination. The cycle continues, not because the world is broken, because craving keeps moving the finish line. This is why the Buddha did not describe freedom as possessing more. Freedom begins when the compulsion to possess begins to loosen, not abandoning life, not rejecting beauty, not refusing relationships, simply seeing clearly that none of these can be permanently owned. A sunset cannot be owned, youth cannot be owned, a child's laughter cannot be owned, even this breath cannot be owned. It can only be experienced for a brief moment. Then it passes. There is sadness in this realization, but there is also enormous freedom, because once you stop demanding permanence, you stop fighting reality, and the energy once spent resisting change becomes available for living. This does not make life less precious. It makes every ordinary experience infinitely more valuable, not because it lasts, because it doesn't. One of the most quoted verses in the Dhammapada says, "All conditioned things are impermanent." This appears in Dhammapada, verse 277. It is a remarkably short statement, yet its implications are endless. Notice what the verse does not say. It doesn't say life is meaningless. It doesn't say happiness is impossible. It doesn't tell us to withdraw from the world. Instead, it asks us to see the world accurately. Everything that depends on causes and conditions will eventually change. A flower blooms because conditions support it. Later, those conditions disappear. The flower fades. A friendship grows because countless conditions come together. Time, trust, shared experiences, mutual care. If those conditions change, the relationship also changes, not because someone failed, because all conditioned things depend on changing causes. This understanding removes something very heavy from the human heart: the illusion that life owes us permanence. Another important teaching appears in the Bhaddhakarata Sutta, found in the Majjhima Nikaya, Discourse 131. There, the Buddha advises people not to chase after the past, nor lose themselves in imagined futures. Instead, he encourages seeing clearly what is present here and now. This teaching is often misunderstood as simply living in the present. Its meaning is more profound. The past no longer exists as direct experience. The future has not yet arisen. Only the present can actually be known. Yet the mind spends astonishing amounts of life elsewhere. It revisits conversations that cannot be changed. It rehearses disasters that may never happen. Meanwhile, the only moment capable of being lived quietly disappears. This is how a person can reach old age and feel that life vanished. Not because life moved too quickly, because attention was almost never where life was actually unfolding. Imagine reading a beautiful book. Every few sentences, your eyes leave the page. You begin thinking about yesterday, then tomorrow, then next year. Hours later, you close the book. You realize you barely remember what you read. Life can unfold the same way. Our days pass, our years pass. Not because they lacked meaning, because the mind rarely stayed long enough to meet them. This is why the Buddha's reminder is not merely philosophical. It is profoundly practical. Seeing impermanence changes how you speak. It changes how you listen. It changes how you argue. It changes how you forgive. Because every encounter may be the last version of that encounter. Not necessarily because someone dies, but because no two moments are ever identical. The conversation you have today with your child will never exist again in exactly the same form. The walk you take this evening exists only once. The person you are today will never appear again. Understanding this does not create panic. It creates reverence. Ordinary life begins to reveal an extraordinary depth. not because reality has changed, because your way of seeing has. You stop asking, "How can I make this moment last forever?" Instead, another question quietly appears. How completely am I willing to live this moment before it changes? That question has no final answer, only endless opportunities to see more clearly. There is a common misunderstanding about Buddhist philosophy. People assume that if everything is impermanent, nothing really matters. But the Buddha pointed towards the opposite conclusion. Because everything changes, everything matters, not forever, but precisely because it is temporary. Imagine hearing your favorite piece of music. Its beauty does not come from lasting forever. It comes from knowing that every note disappears the moment it is heard. If the music never ended, it would no longer be music. It would become noise. Life follows the same principle. A sunset moves us because daylight fades. Cherry blossoms are admired because they bloom briefly. A child's laughter feels precious because childhood passes. Impermanence does not steal beauty. It creates beauty. The mind, however, often tells a different story. It says, "If I cannot keep this forever, why should I become attached?" Buddhist philosophy offers a wiser response. Do not confuse appreciation with possession. You can appreciate a flower without believing it belongs to you. You can love another person without believing they exist to fulfill your expectations. You can celebrate success without making it your identity. You can grieve loss without believing life has betrayed you. This is not emotional detachment. It is emotional clarity. The difference is profound. Detachment pushes life away. Wisdom embraces life without trying to imprison it. Many people spend years chasing a future version of themselves. I'll finally be enough. I'll finally feel successful. I'll finally deserve happiness. But every destination quickly becomes another starting point. Another goal appears. Another comparison begins. Another desire quietly replaces the previous one. This cycle never ends because the problem was never the destination. It was the belief that lasting fulfillment could be built upon changing conditions. The Buddha repeatedly pointed toward a different way of seeing. Peace does not come from stopping change. Peace comes from no longer expecting change to stop. That insight transforms ordinary decisions. You become slower to speak in anger because you realize this conversation will never happen again. You become quicker to express gratitude because you understand opportunities disappear without announcement. You become less interested in proving yourself right because protecting the ego begins to feel less important than protecting the relationship. You stop measuring your worth through possessions because possessions age. You stop measuring yourself through appearance because appearance changes. You stop measuring yourself through praise because praise comes and goes like the weather. Gradually, your center of gravity shifts. You no longer build your identity upon things that cannot remain. This does not make life smaller. It makes it lighter. The strange irony is that when you stop trying to own each moment, you finally begin to experience it completely. A meal tastes richer. Silence becomes less uncomfortable. Walking without a destination becomes meaningful. Listening becomes more important than speaking. Simple moments recover their depth. Not because the world suddenly changed, because your relationship with the world changed. Impermanence also transforms the way we understand regret. Most regret comes from believing there will always be another chance, another phone call, another visit, another apology, Another opportunity to say, "I love you"? Sometimes there is. Sometimes there is not. The tragedy is that we never know which ordinary moment will quietly become the last. The last conversation with a friend? The last time your child reaches for your hand? The last family dinner before life moves everyone in different directions? The last ordinary morning before everything changes? Life almost never announces these moments. They pass unnoticed. Only later do we recognize their importance. Impermanence asks us to recognize that importance while life is still unfolding, not after. Now, this understanding is not meant to fill the heart with fear. Fear contracts. Wisdom opens. The purpose is not to become obsessed with endings. The purpose is to become fully available to beginnings. Every breath begins. Every sunrise begins. Every encounter begins. And every beginning is already carrying the seed of its ending. That is not tragic. That is simply the rhythm of existence. The more deeply this truth settles into the heart, the less urgent life becomes. And strangely, the more alive it feels. Most people spend their lives trying to escape impermanence. Buddhist philosophy suggests something entirely different. Freedom begins when you stop resisting what has always been true. Everything changes. Not someday. Now. The people you love are changing. Your body is changing. Your mind is changing. This very moment is already disappearing. The Buddha's reminder is not an invitation to fear loss. It is an invitation to stop postponing life. Because the greatest waste is not dying with too few years. It is living many years without ever fully meeting the life that was already here. So perhaps the question is not how much time remains. Perhaps the real question is far quieter. If nothing in your life was ever promised to stay exactly as it is today, what would you finally stop taking for granted?